So I'll just wait for people to get into the live stream, but the first thing I want to talk about is something I think is quite important for a lot of things, but it's goal setting. Even when it comes to recovery, I really do believe having a goal in mind that you're working towards and you're seeing improvements of your efforts and everything that go towards achieving that goal really helps your state of mind when you're trying to attain that goal. I really do believe in the power of your mind. If you're in a good mindset and you really do believe you're making a good effort towards recovery, I believe that's makes a big impact on your recovery for sure. But we'll talk about that more when more people get into live stream. Right, let me have a look. Hi, Thomas. So the group chat doesn't work on the Google Hangouts app. I have to actually load it up in my browser. Oh, it doesn't matter. Here we go. Let's do this. Hi, Kathy. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Just briefly at the beginning of the live stream, I was talking about how important it was for me to have a goal in my mind of what I wanted to achieve. So I'll elaborate a bit on this later on, but the goal in mind of recovery as something that you will and have to attain, something you picture in the future attaining it, as something you're working towards, and having little goals in between then that work towards the same goal. So if you have recovery as your main goal in life, and just start imagining what your life will be like when you have recovered, and making little steps in your life where you see the progression. I really do think it has a massive impact on your state of mind. By the way, tell me if you can hear me. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. Yeah, let's put. Hey, you might have answered this in another video, but it's just relevant to me right now. Did you go through periods of time where you had to eat a really restricted diet? Yeah, of course. When it comes to a restricted diet, I had to eliminate things like gluten, dairy, refined oils as much as possible. I just gave up eggs. I gave up. I had a sensitivity to oats as well. I gave up a lot of things, and I had to have that kind of diet for a very long time. Now and again, I slip up on things like gluten, and it's affected me less and less. Like a week ago, I went to a vegan pizza place in London. No, Manchester, sorry, and I had pizza, garlic bread, you know, just everything, and I'm fine now. Like, I don't feel any worse for it. So I can handle things like that more and more as time goes on, but I don't make a habit of it. But yeah, of course, you have to have a restricted diet during recovery. Did you find drinking alcohol sets you back so much, and masturbation so I can hear? Yeah, I promote no fat for sure, especially during recovery. as much as you can. Don't beat yourself up over it, literally. But alcohol, of course, it goes without saying. You wouldn't tell someone recovering to not stop smoking. It's the same thing, you know. Alcohol's no good for recovery. I've been having nausea and headaches, so literally eating sweet potatoes, some fruit, veg at the moment. Can't stomach anything else. If you really can't stomach anything else, then I'll just go with that. You know, I wouldn't force yourself to eat something you can't stomach, but that is very limited. Any tips for handling times when you just feel upset, Thierry? It may be because I'm coming off citraplam antidepressant medication. I know I'm doing the right thing coming off. Yeah, okay. What you have to understand is your body's like a machine, and coming off that medication, you are bound to feel some terrible lows. When those terrible lows hit, you have to understand that that is going to happen. That is normal. Your body's going to be rebalancing. Don't try and think too much about it. Don't go, oh my God, why do I feel this way? You know, just understand that it's a side effect of the medication, and it's nothing to do with how you feel or anything. Emotionally, that is. Maybe it could be a little bit, but I think that coming off antidepressant medication is a huge part of that. Last week I had some energy, but also had insomnia. Is that normal as you're recovering? It's the first time I've had energy in a year and a half. I'm wiped out this week though. Right, don't push yourself too much, because when you get that energy, I noticed this as well, is that your body, maybe it's because it's not too used to that kind of amount of activity for a while, but it's almost like it floods your body with adrenaline because you're not used to the exercise. I'm not entirely sure why, but it happened to me as well. If I push myself, if I did a bit too much exercise at one time, I would feel wired for the rest of the day. I'd get restless legs and stuff. I don't know whether you had that as well. Have you been perfectly healthy in your childhood before CFS thing? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I had eczema. I'd get some allergies, but other than that, no, I'd say I was fine. Hey. Hi, Sizino. Have had CFS for 8 years. Now have Crohn's symptoms. Crohn's meds have bad side effects. So discouraged. Don't know what to do. Well, what's your diet? If you're still having dairy and gluten and stuff while you have Crohn's disease, you need to change that. No problem, Sarah. But yeah, with Crohn's disease, you know, it's becoming more and more common, things like that, digestive issues. I don't know why exactly it is. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but when you're trying to recover from something like Crohn's, it's important to really restrict your diet down. 6 years. So you've been dairy and gluten free for 6 years, and you're still not having any luck with that. What does your diet look like? You know, also stress is like obviously the #1 killer. How's your sleep? How's your sleep, and are you having a very stressful life? Like, there's so many different things that can impact your health. Have you had racing heart even when lying down and completely resting, feeling your pulse in your ear? Yeah, that's when I was at my worst. I used to get adrenaline rushes, and I'd jolt if I heard the doorbell go, or heard a dog bark, or just heard a door close. I was extremely sensitive, and I think that's when my adrenals were just extremely burdened. That's what I think anyway. One thing I like to mention actually quickly is I've just got a salt lamp here, and I was reading about how salt lamps like help mitigate the radiation you get off computers and stuff, and computer screens. I think that's an interesting topic to go into, because back when I was just doing everything. I didn't need proof that something worked. I just tried it. For example, I'd turn off all the plugs at night, so my room was just no electricity possible going through the room. Turn off my Wi-Fi at the bottom and downstairs. And I think that getting away from technology, it's no harm in turning it off at night. I'm just going to put that out there. Just one random thing I thought of just now. Sorry if you already answered this, but how was it at your worst? Extreme fatigue, pain, joint pain especially. Going upstairs was enough to make me almost lose my vision, out of breath, heart palpitations, insomnia, gut issues, bloating after if I ate anything. Even if I drank water, I'd bloat. I don't know why that was. I just cannot sleep maybe 3 or 5 hours every 4 days, and I have no appetite to drink even some water. Stressful life that I cannot escape. Ah, man. See, that'll be that's your reason then. You can't escape it. Sleeping 3 or 4 hours every 4 days, that's like my insomnia back when I had it. And trust me, you ain't doing any recovering no matter how good your diet is if your sleep's that bad. Sleep is number one. Would you discourage resting in bed all day? I got told it will make nighttime sleep worse. I discourage napping because that did make my nighttime sleep worse. But if you like, when I had my POT symptoms, that's another symptom I had. I felt so much better when I laid down. I got a bit of a relief every time I just sat down and laid flat. So I'd go off how you're feeling. What were the things that you did that boosted your mindset? Power of Now. I made a compilation of things I found that boosted my mindset, but I never uploaded it to my channel. Maybe I will do that. But definitely just looking at how other people are living on this planet, realizing that I do have some things to be grateful for in my life. Looking at it as a learning tool, realizing that I could have been stuck in a life I hated if my illness didn't force me out of it. Just looking on the good side of everything. It's very hard to do, and it took me years to be able to do it, but once you get there, I do feel like it had a massive impact on my recovery. I feel like it really changed how my body responded to everything I was doing. Sweet potatoes, plantains, organic chicken breast, Alaskan salmon, organic turkey squash, sleep sucks even though I'm doing meditation. Have a look into people that go meat-free when they have Crohn's disease. Just have a look. Because for example, the vegetable police, he was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and he's really come a long way with healing his Crohn's disease. You might want to look at him. I haven't personally had Crohn's disease. I had a lot of gut issues, but not as bad as Crohn's. So that may be something you want to look at. Did you have problems with high sugar fruits? My body can't seem to handle them. There are some people that can't, and I say to those people, stick to more cooked foods like beans and stuff like that. I personally, my diet now is more you know, I like my fruits, but I'm more fat. I eat a lot of fats from nuts, seeds, nuts, butters, coconut, and more cooked foods, more beans, and I feel better for it. But don't get me wrong, I still have my fruits. You just kind of have to mess around a bit until you feel better. I remember I first went high carb, literally I didn't have much fat at all in the very beginning, and it seemed to be working for me. It was part of my journey. I just adapted it over time, and I'm more fat now. I'd say I'm about almost equal between fat and carbs. I just eat balanced, really. Are you now able to work full time with energy left over? Yeah. And I will say this, when it comes to recovery and life after recovery, sleep is number one. Early nights every time. I also have a problem with high sugar food. There are some people that do have a problem with it, and sometimes it can be because you also eat a lot of high fat foods and you're struggling with maybe candida issues or blood sugar problems, so the combination of fat and sugar can sometimes be a bit problematic. Dr. Neil Barnard talks about it. Basically, the cells that open up to accept sugar, if you're on a diet that's a lot of animal fats or just fats in general, it can hinder the uptake of those cells accepting the sugar, meaning the sugar stays in your bloodstream longer, which can cause blood sugar problems. But I had problems with things like smoothies and stuff. Scared to go vegan because things like beans cause more digestive issues. Don't know what to do for alternatives. Check Vegetable Police, because I think he had the same thing with beans. He couldn't tolerate them. It really is a you really have to try and really research people with the disease. Like with you, for example, with Crohn's disease, if you try and find, I wouldn't just look at one person that has had Crohn's and overcome it. I would look at several and look at things that they've all done. That's what I did for my recovery. I looked at all these different people I was watching. I was like, hang on a minute, all of them aren't eating gluten. All of them aren't eating dairy. You know, all of them are eating mainly whole foods. A lot of them are talking about sleep, and just, you know, I started to piece it together and add loads of different things in. Going to talk to a nutritionist at the Optimal Health Clinic to see if they can help me out. We'll check Vegetable Please, thanks. Yeah, I mean, personally, I found it more useful listening to people with the illness that had recovered rather than listening to people with nutritional degrees. Because even though they were a nutritionist, they haven't been that long, hard road of understanding what it was to overcome something like that. So, my personal opinion is save your money. Because I never spent any money with nutritionists in the end for my recovery. Did you ever wake up in the middle of the night with high blood pressure and sweating? Yeah, often. Especially during recovery. I remember when I first started getting even a few hours sleep, I'd wake up at 11, 12 every night. Then wake up half an hour every half an hour. It was awful. I'd wake up sweating a lot of nights. I can't say why that was, but yes, I did. Did you find as you were closer to recovery, the most of your symptoms decreased? The last couple of weeks, my symptoms have just been fatigue and tired eyes. That is exactly how it happens. That's really good. That's a really good sign. And what kind of fatigue is it? Is it just a feeling of feeling tired, or is it a feeling of being wired? Is it a feeling of complete exhaustion, or is it just you just want to rest more? Because as I got closer to my recovery, I started to realize that I was like, hang on a minute, my last symptom is I just don't feel refreshed in the mornings, or I just feel, yeah, tired eyes, for example. That's when I started to go, hang on a minute, I'm going to really try and do, well, I did it from the beginning, but I really enforced it of staying away from screens and things that could make my eyes tired as much as possible. So no, that's a really good sign. When your symptoms start going away, you know you're doing the right thing. You know, when I stopped having pain, I was like, hang on a minute, it's working what I'm doing. Do you think gluten-free pastas are okay to eat if the rest of the diet is okay? They're easier to cook when energy is low. I mean, I did it. I found gluten-free pastas that were made from organic brown rice. And I did that for convenience, you know. But yeah, I did that. What did you do to improve your gut health? I took a lot of antibiotics and my gut is so poor. Did you have swollen lymph nodes? I had swollen lymph nodes sometimes in my neck and behind my ears. I also had a swollen lymph node on my armpit. But for my gut health, removing inflammatory foods, probiotics, time, patience, getting away from stress as much as possible, and sorting my sleep out and being patient. I listen to your advice. I'm slowly getting better, but my anxiety is not. Be patient with the anxiety. Anxiety is something that faded over time for me. I ate banana and almond butter last night instead of chicken, sweet potato, and slept better. Maybe something to do with vegan thing for me. I actually used to do the same thing. I used to eat a handful of Brazil nuts before bed. Now, during recovery, I have no idea why that helped, but when I would research why I was waking up so often in the night, sometimes it could be a drop in blood sugar, things like that. So I used to have a handful of Brazil nuts before bed. Sometimes a banana, but mainly I think the fats helped. Did you find you had headaches every day? No. I used to get head pressure a lot during, before recovery. But no, I didn't have headaches every day. What I will say is that could potentially be you coming off the antidepressants. Possibly. I was getting a little bit better, but I got a cold virus and now have flu symptoms for 2.5 months. Headache, heavy, legs. Did you also had to recover 1-2 months from? Yeah, it really is a setback. When you're a lot more susceptible to just the average cold and stuff. What I will say is, how is your sleep? Things that can help, for example, would be, I used to this is something that not many people agree with me on, but for me personally, it was my sanctuary, was Epsom salt, clay, salt, vitamin C baths, especially when I had colds, and just staying in there for an hour. It's like giving myself inducing a fever to get rid of the virus, you know. So I'd do that, and then I'd sleep, I'd rest for longer, go to bed earlier, 7 o'clock even. So that could be something you want to try, but I personally love them. It felt very healing for me. You know, when I was at my most depressed, not sure whether what I was doing was working, being in the bath and just turning off and just relaxing really helped me. I did water kefir for a week and it made me super gassy. Should I just stick to other probiotics? I think that's kind of normal when it comes to kefir. I was a farting machine when I first went on kefir. That can be sometimes because of bad bacteria dying off or interacting with the kefir. But you could stick with other probiotics. I found that even though it's a lot of probiotics, I think, are quite, don't know if they're that good. But you could try. I had one called ProBio or something. It had 50 billion cultures in it or something like that. I'm so frustrated with my sleep being shit. I took melatonin one night and it seemed to help, but it's not a good thing to take then, right? Well, when you take melatonin, your body goes, hang on a sec, we're getting melatonin from somewhere else, we don't have to produce it now. And if you get used to that and you decide one day that you don't want to take melatonin, you will have to go through a process of your body having to restart melatonin production. You don't need to take melatonin to sleep, you need to fix your sleep. So why is your sleep shit? Are you feeling wired before bed? Are you looking at technology before bed? Are you not unwinding before bed? Have you got lights on before bed? Are you stressed, really stressed out in your life right now? How's your diet? There's so many things. How long did it take you for the pain to get better? And do you think insomnia caused pain? Oh yeah, for sure. Insomnia amplifies pain. I'm sure of it. I just felt everything so much more. Everything with insomnia. It's just a nightmare because your body is recovering during sleep. And if you're not sleeping, then what's going to happen to the waste products inside your muscles and stuff? You know, it's going to be hindered. I'm sure if that's how it works. So, yeah, insomnia, it's it makes things hell. These chats always make me feel so much more positive. Thank you so much. No problem. That's what it's here for. I know I should do them more often, but I've just been, I mean, I could start doing it on my phone and doing it wherever I am. I might do that. I usually have some sort of snack before bed. Besides Brill nuts, what other snacks did you do at night? Banana, peanut butter, Brazil nuts. Some of the ones I had. Maybe you could try a bit of porridge before bed, but it depends whether you're sensitive to oats or not. Do you feel anxious walking around your neighbourhood and afraid what neighbours might think of you? That was me in a nutshell. At some point I developed an attitude of I don't give a fuck anymore, and I just started going out with my bald head, fat face and everything. I didn't give a shit. But now, no, I never really get anxiety anymore. As someone that stayed in my house for years with excruciating anxiety, I don't really get anxiety much anymore. You know, if I go to meet someone or that I've not met before, I've got, I don't know, say an interview or something like that, I'll get a bit of anxiety, but it's nothing that I can't handle. Did you find that different types of podcasts were better than others? For sure. I've started listening to them and laying down with my eyes shut to avoid going to bed during the day, but not sure it's helping. I mean, to know something's helping or not is, you know, is it passing the time? Are you less bored? Any kind of resting's decent, in my opinion. You have to be doing something for quite a while to see the results. I live in Florida and had to evacuate. It's been a week of pure adrenaline. Oh man, I can imagine. I felt great for days during the stress. Now I'm crashing pretty bad, but was impressed how my body could cope with stress. That's the adrenaline. You know, you feel amazing on adrenaline, and it really burdens your body when you go through that, especially while you're ill. Adrenaline's like the best drug in the world. Makes you feel great, even if you have an illness. Do you have light sensitivity? If so, did you go away as you recovered? I had extreme light sensitivity. I used to have blackout blinds and sleep during most of the day and be awake at night because it felt more comfortable. It's insane. I can't. Part of me can't even relate to how I used to live. What now? 4 or 5 years ago even. Can't relate. It's embarrassing, but I'm living alone at the moment and I'm really scared of the dark. So when I turn the lights off and go to bed, I'm quite nervous. I'm quite sure that was a toll on my sleep. I used to have that. You just have to realise that there is nothing that's going to hurt you, and there's nothing really there. You know what? How I got over being scared? I remember I was terrified of The Exorcist and The Exorcist girl, and one night at like 2 in the morning I decided to conquer my fear and I watched The Exorcist with headphones on at 2 in the morning, and after that I really didn't care. I have to see some friends tomorrow and have major social anxiety because of it. Well, okay, understand this. With social anxiety, you're here, so you have a chronic illness. Your body's burdened. It means everything's amplified. Anxiety gets amplified when you're not feeling very well. It makes you feel shit. So when you're feeling shit, you don't really feel like going to socialise with people and having a good time. So the anxiety it can get out of hand quite easily. What are the signs that full recovery is near? How is your transition? When you realise you're no longer in pain, you're sleeping through the night, however, you're not feeling restful, like you wake up and you just kind of feel groggy, you feel tired still, but you don't feel refreshed. That's a sign recovery is near. Just keep up with the early nights. And when you're at that point, you usually can do walks and stuff. And, you know, I tell people not to exercise and do all this graded exercise stuff. But when you're in a position to be able to do exercise, it really helps your body. You know, with your lymphatic system, your mental state, everything. So when you're in the position where you can actually exercise, it's plain sailing from there. When I was able to do 20-minute walks and stuff, and I'd put on multiple layers and get the sweat going, and you know, get the lymph pumping, it really helped. Thank you. What type of podcast did you listen to? Have got Sean Stevenson on. Well, sometimes I just didn't want to listen to stuff regarding to health. I wanted a break, so I'd listen to stories like I'd listen to Christopher Hitchens stuff. I enjoyed listening to him. I think he had a really good voice, and I just liked learning people's different perspectives on life. Things that would make me feel better as well, like Power of Now and things like that, changed my perspective. I have a list of things that I used to listen to on my Amazon Audible account. Listen to Sean Stevenson podcast. His voice is very calm and relaxing. I always learn something new. You know, Sean Stevenson, like, see ya. Sean Stevenson, no, I wish I had known more about him before I had recovered. I suffer with light sensitivity as well as car headlights, and shopping Tesco, etc. Like lights seem to make me dizzy and tired. Walking through Tesco is exhausting to me. Yeah, those I don't know what it is about those lights, but awful. You know, I used to get my luckily, like, blessed. There's a supermarket called Ocado online that delivered to your door, and they even bring your shopping in for you if you want. And I got to avoid all that stress when it came to food. I was so fucking dumb and read The Shining and was horrified for a week afterwards. I love The Shining film. I don't know, I used to be such giants. I will say this, is that when I had super social anxiety, I was easily startled, I was easily scared. I always felt like, if my mum just said, "Hi James," or something, I'd go, like, I'd jump. I'd always terrified, easily terrified. And I think that's because your body's burdened and it's trying to get you away from anything that's stimulating. And when I got recovered, they didn't nearly affect me as much. So I don't know what that is. I was brain fog free for a week after stopping psych meds. I felt clarity in my head but got rushed off adrenaline. Now the adrenaline's gone but fog is back. You just got to ride through those things. Withdrawal effects, obviously. Could brain fog be some sort of protection mechanism from the body? Possibly. Who's to say it's not? There's a lot we don't know. Thoughts on Roaccutane and erectile dysfunction? Roaccutane, that stuff's deadly. Luckily my mum dragged me out. So I went to a dermatologist when I had acne, and I was like, please prescribe me Accutane. I want to get rid of this acne for good. And when my mum heard the name Roaccutane, she dragged me out, and I was really pissed off at her. But I'm glad she did that now. I think it's a dreadful drug. As for erectile dysfunction, I think there's many reasons for that. So many reasons. Overall health, your sleep. Sleep has a massive effect on your testosterone cycle. No-fap, you should definitely do that if you have erectile dysfunction. So many different things can have an impact. So a lot of people will say that you have erectile dysfunction and you go, well, I feel ill and I'm sure it's Roaccutane, so erectile dysfunction is because of that. Focus on recovery. You know, you can't go to a doctor and say, I'm sure I got erectile dysfunction off Roaccutane, because I go, okay, here's some pills again. They don't fix shit. I think I did too much last night and now I'm feeling a little worse. I try not to get depressed, but when I was doing better the last couple of weeks, did you have time to... Yeah, for sure. It's hard not to get depressed, you know. I say to people, let yourself feel how you're feeling. If you're pissed off, be pissed off. Just don't dwell on it. You know, don't just go over and over again. Go, you know what, I am pissed off right now. I was feeling much better. What's gone wrong? Blah, blah, blah. Just go with it. Just keep to your routine. You know, the routine you did that made you feel better, can sometimes you go through periods where you feel worse on the same routine and it makes you feel disheartened. Don't keep doing it. It will even out eventually. Again, I can't tell you why that is, but it's just the way it is. Recovery is not linear for anything. Do you think about gluten-free, spicy food such as Thai food? I love Thai food. I would have had more Thai food and stuff. I didn't really have curries and stuff like that before until I met my girlfriend. But then I really love Indian and Thai food now. It's probably my favorite. Do you ever take takeaways now recovered? Yeah, all the time. To be fair though, I found this Indian place near me that does it's like not oily, it's amazing. I've been so many Indians, like in London, England, Manchester, Newbury, Manchester, places like that, and I found this place and they do fresh ingredients. It's not oily, you know, you can't see oil pooling around it, and it's like what's authentic, and it's beautiful. I love it. So I don't really count that as takeaway because it is really good food. But no, I do have takeaways sometimes, even if it's not the healthiest, you know. I don't have to be too strict about my diet when it comes to, say, having takeaways. As long as I don't ever have dairy or anything like that. Currently on my year off school to recover, I'm finding myself coming very depressed, and all I can do is snooze throughout the day. Should I snooze in the day or force myself to do basic activities? Depends. What are you doing towards recovery? If you have a year off, make use of it, because it will just keep going and going like it did for me. Don't waste your time. You'll end up in your late 20s like I did and just wasting your time. Sort out your sleep. Get proactive about learning about what you can do each day towards recovery. Do everything you can towards recovery. Make it your goal, your mission to do everything you can towards recovery. Don't just get depressed and disheartened. You really have to push for it. It's hard to know what you've done so far and stuff, so I can't really comment. I asked you about the transition because when I started my recovery program from high cortisol adrenal issues, I was in fight or flight state. Yeah, I was in fight or flight state, especially when I had insomnia. I was in my fight or flight was so bad that any kind of sound set me off, and it was so bad I couldn't sleep. Half an hour a day. It was that bad for weeks at a time. How did you lower adrenaline levels? How much meditation I'm do? I'm shaking and wide. Do you get jaw and sinus pain? I did get sinus pain, not jaw pain. Adrenaline, you know, I have videos on it. It's hard for me to relate now because I have been recovered for like 2 years or something like that. But I do have videos on how to get out of the wider tired stage. I'm thinking about re-uploading some of my best videos when it comes to things like this, just so newcomers can have a look. Tell me what you think of that. But how did I get out of it? I think it was meditation, trigger points in getting massages in my trigger points, sorting out my diet so nothing was inflaming my bowels and my gut, doing probiotics, detox baths, things like that, and just being patient. Good habits eventually got me out of fight or flight. Also, working with a psychologist helped as well to deal with traumas and stuff. Is it better to have bananas ripe? For sure. And now, after 8 months, I'm sleeping like a baby. I sometimes feel like I'm stoned from marijuana, even though I don't smoke. You know, as soon as my head hits the pillow, within 30 seconds, a minute, I'm probably asleep. I sleep like a baby as well. I will say that I haven't been as strict, so I don't sleep as well as I used to when I was very strict with my recovery. But no, I generally sleep quite well. However, when I sleep with my girlfriend, I find that sometimes that can be. It really depends. You know, I'm addicted to my phone, and I've cut down a lot, but I want to cut down even more, and I'm sure that messes my sleep up if I'm looking at that before bed. No, I know so. Alongside my fatigue, I also feel incredibly unfit. Did you find when you started to recover that your fitness returned, or did you have to work hard to get fit again? I had to work hard to get fit again. You feel incredibly unfit. Don't worry about it. Worry about it when you've recovered. Doctors are so useless. I went the other day and he said, do you exercise regularly despite knowing my health stuff? They are useless. They really are. You know, it's just, you want to hit your head against the wall. It's just, there is literally no point. It's almost insulting. It makes you feel worse. Thanks, you give me so much encouragement and hope. No problem, Kathy. I'm finding the more I give into my fatigue, the more exhausted I become, and my suicidal thoughts and anxiety have increased. So Esme, you know, I do find that when I was at my most sensitive, when I would consume things like gluten, suicidal thinking almost popped into my head within an hour. And sometimes I would go, why am I thinking about things like this? And I'll go down and check a packet and go, it had wheat flour in it, or something like that. Like, I really do believe that gluten had a massive impact on my depression during recovery because I was in such a bad state. So it could be something food related. How was your sleep? And so I mean, there's so many people asking questions, I get carried away. So you might have already told me, but just be patient if you're making all the right changes, and just know that you can recover, and do other things that can help uplift your mind as well. You know, I tell people to stay away from technology, but sometimes when I was very bored, I'd watch things that would make me laugh, like Idiot Bored, The Office, and things like that. Any tips on how to stay calm when a future Cat 4 hurricane is coming to your hometown and may not have electricity for 10 months in 100-degree heat with no refrigeration? Leaving was stressful too. Oh my god. No idea. I don't think you can stay calm. I can't imagine. And I can't give you any advice because last time I was in Florida was when I was like 4 or 5 when I lived there. I remember my mum said that she used to have to put us in the bathtub with a mattress over the top when there used to be a storm or something going past. I was too young to remember it, but I can't give you any advice there. Thanks, man. So good to connect with someone who knows the feeling. Do you find drinking anything with meals hinders digestion? This is something I did do. Another thing. See, there's so many things I don't answer in my videos where until someone actually mentions it. I actually refrain from drinking within an hour to 30 minutes either side of each meal because it weakens stomach acid. That's what I read anyway. So yeah, I did actually refrain from drinking. I would drink loads beforehand and get ready for a meal, like half an hour before, whatever. Is that low oil place in Manchester? I don't eat out or socialise much at all, but my birthday's coming up and I'm considering maybe going for a meal. No, it's in Newbury, and it's called Chili's, and it's a really good authentic Indian food. I'm sure you'll be able to find a place in Manchester. I tell you what, I've been to probably 4 or 5 curry houses in Manchester, and none of them have been a patch on the one in Newbury. Also, I don't want to ever drink my own piss lol. Did you ever look into urine therapy? Seems like to be a lot of benefit. No. It just didn't make sense to me. You piss out things that your body wants to get rid of. Why would you drink it? I don't get it. Any ideas why Accutane could cause erectile dysfunction and discomfort? No idea. I know that it bombards your body with vitamin A to destroy, like, the follicles under your skin or something. So whether it does something to your penis, I don't know. But don't get disheartened. I would just focus on recovery and just hope for the best. Why is it better to have bananas right? I prefer the taste of fresh ones. Thanks. Well, I guess if you prefer the type, sometimes people get digestive discomfort if they have them non-ripe. You know, I don't like them too spotty, but at least a few spots. That's what I usually do. About phones, I found my sleep much better when I switched my phone off and left it in another room. I use old watch as alarms now. Could be no, it's not placebo. The bedroom should be for sleeping, and that's it. You know, I can talk my bed's here, but I make sure this goes off at 9, half 9 max. You know, I can afford to not be as strict now because my body's not incredibly burdened, but back in recovery I had to be on point. It had to go off at 7, 8 every night. So as I go to sleep easily, I am in a deep sleep throughout the night. Do you think there are signs that complete recovery is near? That's a sign in itself. If you're in a deep sleep throughout the night, that's a really great start. I went off gluten-free oats for 3 weeks and added it back the other day, but can't tell if my being wiped out is from doing too much last week or from the oats. That is the pain in the ass that comes with recovery. You can't. It takes a lot of time, you know. It took me a good 6, 7 times of eating gluten to realize that it was not doing me good. This is the thing, I always made excuses to eat gluten because it tastes good. And it's addictive, really addictive. Depends how long you've been taking antidepressants. You know, the longer you've been on a medication, the longer it'll take for your body to get back to normal. You know, say my grandma, she's been on diazepam 30, 40 years or whatever it is, insane amount of time. So doctors now are at the point where they go, it's probably more harm than good to take you off them. I don't know how true that is though, but I personally wouldn't get in that state to begin with. By the way, I'll probably do like a live stream tomorrow as well. I'll make time at least an hour each time I can do it. But yeah, it could do, because it changes your brain chemistry, doesn't it? 2 years, that's not that bad. I would hate to say get off antidepressants when if you're extremely depressed and stuff, because I don't know you as a person. You know, it's all right for me because I was in control of myself. Like, I knew how bad my depression was, and I was ready to tackle it head on and try and get over it. And I did. You know, I was so bad. I was suicidally depressed. And I have little bouts of feeling a bit depressed, but I know why that is now. It can be poor sleep, something that's happened in my life, triggers of old like memories, or for example, if I don't have a goal in life, like for example, the mistake I made when well, not mistake, but for the longest time, all I ever wanted was recovery. That was my main goal in life. My main goal in this life is to get over this illness and recover. When I did that, I was left directionless almost. Like, I didn't have a massive goal to replace it. And sometimes I go back into my depression a little bit. And when I added goals back in, like exercise related or anything like that, fitness, new things to learn, it made me feel better. So there's lots of different types of depression as well. Like, I had depression due to my chronic illness. I had depression due to my destroyed gut. Like, when I had gluten, it made me feel really anxious and depressed. I don't feel depressed and haven't been diagnosed with it. I just get anxious. I wouldn't take an antidepressant for that then. I think anxiety, personally, is something due to a body being overburdened and your body forcing you to be isolated. Possibly. That's my take from it. So if your body is like, right, you know, we need a timeout, our body's under pressure right now, it's stressed out, how do we force this person to kind of chill out and not get into too much trouble or whatever? I feel like social anxiety and stuff like that forces you to almost stay isolated. I don't know. Maybe bullshit, but tap water, I can't have the tap water here. Like, the other night I didn't have any water. I had tap water and I woke up with a really dry mouth. Like, it just dries me out. I don't know why. I used to buy these 10-litre water bags. spring water. You know, I read into all the different types of water, like, you know, reverse osmosis and stuff, but the more I read into it, like, reverse osmosis just doesn't make sense. You've taken everything out of the water. Whenever would anyone drink water like that? Spring water made the most sense to me. I was put on them after being on injections, which put my body in a drug-induced temporary menopause, which made me depressed. That is insane. I'm not even going to pretend I have knowledge of that. Temporary menopause at 29. That's insane. Thanks, Adrenal Recovery. Yeah, I'm not self-conscious. I mean, I sometimes sometimes I have to remain a little bit of self-consumption when it comes to my health. Like early nights, really force myself to go to bed and stuff like that. But no, I can definitely look out for someone else. I have come a long way. It's crazy to think. It's hard to relate to myself, even to the beginning of my YouTube channel. I'm just saying, I developed terrible IBS after very prolonged periods of antibiotic use. But after adopting whole food plant-based diet, my IBS has gone from 8 to 10 to 2 out of 10 after 2 months. It is amazing. So many people report the same. See, so many people I was watching were going to these plant-based diets, and that's potentially what was a big part that played a role in me doing it as well. I was like, hang on a minute, so many people are doing this, as well as going gluten-free. I have to look into it more. But no, Casey, that's amazing. Did you have brain fog? Hugely. You know, I felt like I could. This is how I explain brain fog. It was like getting 2 pieces of a jigsaw and trying to put them together, but it never fitting inside your head. Even if it was a simple jigsaw, it was weird. Yeah, I had huge brain fog. Brita filter water. Brita filter waters don't filter out fluoride, so I never did that. Spring water contains fluoride, but it's a naturally occurring fluoride. Fluoride that's added to some tap waters is sodium fluoride. Went to a CFS specialist, Dr. Meerleer in Belgium, spending €3,000 on tests. Half the money I get back from Dutch tax system. Still waiting for the results. Ever heard of him? No people who saw him? No, I haven't, but hopefully you get something for that money. I stress a lot about a job/school when I do get recovered. What I want to do in life, because I don't feel like the same person I was before I got ill. Don't know how to turn it off. That is a huge one when it comes to recovery, I'm telling you right now. Every time I was getting recovered, I was like, every time I was getting along week after week, and I go, hang on a minute, what happens if I do recover? I have to go back to doing what normal people do. I have to do all these things, like, I don't even know what I want to do. And I get in this cycle of just getting stressed out of my head, and it would make me do things that were counterproductive to recovery. Block out everything apart from recovery. You have to block out everything apart from recovery. Focus on just recovery, as that's your only goal. Worry about that when you get there. You know what? I'll find the video for you. My channel. Where is my channel? My channel. Right. I'll find you the video, Kivik. It's a huge one for many people. You worry. Okay. I have a video called "Feel Uncertain About Recovery." Watch this. And basically, I talk about that very question. Now, you have to forget about it. Your goal in life, as is, should be recovery and nothing else. Because anything else can make you feel overburdened, too stressed, like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders. You can't deal with that when you have a chronic illness. You can't deal with bad news. You can't deal with world news. You can't deal with wars. You can't deal with thinking about the future too much. You can't deal with anything. You have to focus on you're getting your body healthy, because your body is not in a state to deal with that kind of shit. And it's very hard to see yourself doing those normal things when you're ill. So don't think about them. Don't worry, you will get there. Are you completely recovered from brain fog? Absolutely. Do you have really bad immunity when you start going out again? Yes. I'm almost better, but every time I go out, I get a virus. I had more than 5 in the last couple of months. Yeah, I constantly had some kind of a cold or virus. When I recovered, it's like, because I'd been inside for so long, my immune system hadn't been tested by things like, say, when I was kissing my girlfriend, I got glandular fever. I got a tonsillitis infection twice. I got viruses. I constantly was dealing with something. And it's the year after really getting out into the world has been a year, I would say even up until the last few months, has been my immune system getting tested again and again and again. And I'm out the other side of that now. I'm not eating gluten anymore, so it can't be contributing towards my depression. I think it's leaving my friends and school behind. I loved my life so much, but was miserable because of my CFS. That's understandable. Of course, depression, a massive part of depression is actual life events. So that thing is obviously going to impact your health. I think you have to understand is that you are miserable with CFS even though you loved your life. What you have to do is take the time out to fix that problem that was making you miserable, and then get back to the life you love without that thing holding you back. How did you find the energy to do things like pushing the washing on, etc.? I did the other day and felt dizzy afterwards. Well, when it came to, when you say feeling dizzy, is that when you bend down and then stand up? I mean, I guess you just kind of have to deal with it, I guess, like, because that's what I did. You know, if it's something that you have to do, I just had a dryer and a washer, and I just stuck this stuff in the washer, put a bit of powder in, not like natural, like there were these, at one time I was using these soap nuts. It's like a natural form of like washing your clothes, and it was soap nuts in a little bag. You just throw it in there and then turn it on. I mean, not man up, just like realize, like, you know, when it comes to pacing, if you're going to expend any energy at all, it's going to have to be things that you can't really get around. You know, you have to wash things, don't you? I went through a similar depression. In many ways, we are mounting the death of life we expected to have. It is a difficult period, but it will get easier as you go from experience. Yeah. No, I don't eat all organic foods. I don't think it's necessary. I use plastic plates and knives and forks to save on energy clearing up, if that helps anyone. Well, I guess it's a point. I know someone else that does that. I mean, at least you could recycle it, I guess. But no, thanks so much. I'll watch the video after this. I do believe it is one of the things that keep me in fight or flight mode, because I think about it all day and night long. Man, I'm telling you, it really hinders recovery. It was a huge thing for me for a long time. It really kept me from progressing. And if anyone's thinking what this is, it's a fermented strawberry and lime drink from a Swedish one with spring water. But yeah, I mean, I will say this is that yeah, not yeah, I mean, I will say this is my body's a lot more resilient now. For example, you know, I'm not someone that's a big drinker. I don't drink. Like, I go months and months without it. But you know, when the opportunity arises, I went out for a night out with my girlfriend and some friends and everything, and I was the one that didn't have a hangover. Like, take that as you will, but I've never had a hangover. Like, I don't know whether that my body's so efficient at cleaning things out now. I have no idea. But I will say this is that even the year after I recovered, I was still quite sensitive to things. It's only like 2.5 years where my body's can handle a lot more. Did you have to use a wheelchair at your worst to get to any appointments? I didn't go. I didn't leave my house. I rarely left my house. Sometimes once a year, maybe less. Oh, but you mean when I was ill? Still, I rarely left my house. Usually, for example, there was this one time when I had a tooth that was, I had a nerve exposed in my molars. My wisdom teeth that I was grinding all night to the point where I exposed the nerve in my tooth, and I needed, like an idiot, I tried to like avoid going to the dentist, and 2 weeks later I was just in agony. So I ended up having to go buy a taxi to the dentist. So I walked out my door, got in the taxi. I was in fight or flight adrenaline mode. So because that was the first time I've been out in the house in probably 2-3 years, and then I'd had to walk from the taxi into the dentist place. So I didn't really do much walking, but I was in fight or flight and huge anxiety. I was just, I think it took me a few weeks to recover from it in terms of how much adrenaline I had that day. From that, like the fact that I had what's it called when they numb your gums? I was sad. I had my teeth taken out. I had the adrenaline of going to the appointment. I hadn't been out in years. I didn't ever use a wheelchair then, no. Whenever I needed to do something, I just did it and just accepted the consequences after, which usually was just a complete what was I saying? Can't even remember. I was reading people. No, I would just accept the consequences afterwards. It was so few and far between. I just didn't care. What are you drinking right now, James? A Recorderlig. Strawberry and lime. I'm sorry I'm late. I have MCS, a lot of digestive issues. I'm always in stress mode. You see, when you're in stress mode and in fight or flight, you are not digesting properly. Your blood's pooling to your limbs because you're in fight or flight. So you're either going to run away with your legs or you're going to fight with your arms. So the blood is pooling there when it should be in your stomach digesting, which causes digestive issues. So a lot of time fixing the fight or flight mode is a huge point in when it comes to digestive issues. Dental stuff really sets one back. It really did set me back. But I had no option but to take those teeth out. The nerve was exposed. The dentist hadn't seen anything like it in a while. I thought about moving out of Florida to get away from the heat, but the stress of moving would probably set me back. Just focus on recovery here, huh? That's something you're gonna have to call, because I can't tell you what it's like living in that kind of heat. It's probably very humid, right? I know when I lived in Arkansas, it was very humid. I don't know whether it's similar. Luckily in England, it's a very, it's neither, there's no extreme in England. It's very level, you know, just a bit cloudy and bit of rain. Not too cold, well, not too cold, not too hot. So I never had to experience any of those issues. What do you think about going to bed earlier, even for teenagers who have later cardiac rhythm naturally? When you say you have a later cardiac, what's it called again? Because I get it mixed up. It's cardiac is to do with heart health. Circadian rhythm. That's it. Naturally. Why do you think that? Have you had a long childhood of playing games up until bedtime? Because that can sometimes make you believe you have a later circadian rhythm. To very summarize the recovery, how would you do it? Change everything. Change everything. Okay, so what would I change? One sec. Okay, you change. So, are you in a situation, a toxic environment with friends, family? Do you have toxic relationships? You need to sort those out. How are you eating? Is it dreadful? Is your sleep pattern completely off? Have you got like trauma that you haven't dealt with? Have you had antibiotics in the past when you've had no present infection, or even if you have done? Oh, there's just so many things that you can go and talk about when it comes to recovery. But change everything in your life, and it's kind of like a Rubik's cube. Did you eat pretty plainly during recovery? Thoughts on raw food? I personally think raw foods are really good. Some people, like digestion is so poor that they have a hard time with raw foods to begin with. But yeah, I would say that generally it's quite plain, but I just didn't care. I wanted recovery more than anything in the world. I love to see you so healthy again. It really gives me so much hope I can live normally life after this, and not just life full of rules to survive the day. Yeah, just don't push yourself too soon when you feel recovered. You know, take it easy. The last thing you want is a relapse. But even then, you know, just because you have a little, I had little relapses even after 6, 7 months, and you know, you never fully go back to stage one. You always bounce back quicker than you did before. Florida's insanely humid here, like a sauna. I'm in North Carolina right now. It's so much nicer. Just don't know how to get there. You know what? I haven't got any advice for you because I have no idea it's like to live in a sauna. So at night time, it's like a sauna. Because I remember when I went to Mallorca this year, and there was no aircon in the room, and it was like 25, 30 degrees. So it's like it's trying to sleep in a sauna, and it just wasn't happening for me. Maybe it's because I'm not used to it, but yeah. Did you have little relapses when you started walking? Did I have a little relapse when I started walking? You know what? I was so cautious towards the end when I started doing it for real that I never let myself get in a position where I actually did have little relapses, really. Not that I can remember or recall. What I always tell people is go for a walk, see how you respond over the next 2 or 3 days. If you still feel okay and you don't feel like any negative effects from it, do it again, increase the time, and just keep doing it slowly. Don't push yourself too much too soon. Let me know actually in the comment section what times you think it's best for me to do a live stream. What did my little relapses look like during recovery? It was usually... I don't know how to turn off notifications. I installed Windows 10. What did they look like, my little setbacks? Well, I had a massive setback when I was fed up at the 2 or 3 month mark and I wasn't fully recovered. So I went and I ate a takeaway pizza, and it just set me back a good 2, 3, 4 weeks to get the gluten out of my system. And yeah. But what did my mini relapses look like? Just, I don't know, say I pushed a bit too much, I'd wake up in the morning, I feel especially more tired, or my joints might be a bit iffy, or I might have done might have been a bit too much for my joints. You know, some things really stick out in my mind when it comes to my recovery, but some other things like that are little details that I've kind of forgotten now. You know, if I could go back now, I'd probably have written a journal from the very beginning. It would have helped other people, you know. But yeah, I'll close this stream in a minute, and I'll do a stream tomorrow. Yeah, guys. If there's one more question, I'll answer it, and then I'll go. Yeah, not too late. I know that I have quite a large audience in America. Well, a lot of, not when I say large, I don't mean I've got loads of followers, like hundreds of people waiting for my live stream, but I mean a lot of people that watch my videos. It says on the analytics that a large portion come from America. I think it's over 50%, and then it's like Europe and stuff like that. Kathy, you better not be free in the mornings. How did you never leave the house? I have to leave the house for appointments, but worried it's slowing down recovery. You know, at some point I decided, you know what, fuck the establishment, fuck the GPs and everything else. So I was like, okay, I've accepted they're not going to help me. I don't need to go to appointments anymore. In terms of that, if you mean that, but appointments with friends and family and stuff, yeah, about that, I kind of got to a point where I realised that they were setting me back, so I just didn't go to anything anymore. I think I have a few viewers from Germany. I'll have to check it again, but I definitely know that most of them are from America. I did my psychology over Skype like this. I did go to a chiropractor. That's the only time I did. Then that was like it, if I can remember correctly. I think that was it. Okay, guys, I'll turn the stream off now. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.